Today we're upgrading the Jump Scare Precon on an extreme budget. Now this entire deck is built around Zimone and I'm in love with this girl. A land enters the battlefield, you get a Manifest Dread, which is a new mechanic from Duskmourn. You get a look at the top two cards of your library, one goes into the graveyard and you're basically going to morph the other one as a 2/2 creature. And then every other time a land enters the battlefield that turn, as long as it's not the first time, you're going to get a flip a permanent for free. So again, we're doing Simic stuff, cheating creatures into play. What I like about this mechanic is we can kind of be sneaky about it, using tap creatures that put lands directly from our hand into play, because now we're able to flip these things at instant speed. We're going to be scary. We're going to have a board of 2/2s that our opponents are not going to know about. We're going to punch this deck up with some really big threats that we're going to manifest off the top of our library, and then we're going to add some vegetables. I know, not super fun, but we need more card draw. There's not a lot of card draw in the precon. They're just kind of banking on Zimone here. So we're going to buff up the card draw. We're going to add some giant creatures, and we did end up adding an infinite combo that draws the entire deck just by adding a bunch of synergistic cards to this precon upgrade. So stay tuned for that. Irrelevant, you rock, and now let's get into that precon upgrade. Wait, before we do, I'm just realizing that this would be a really cool commander to build without a budget, so if you guys want to see that as well, don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below telling me that there's a lot of demand to see me build a non-budget version of this girl. She's just really cool. Not to mention, hey, if you guys want a free $15, not only does it help me out by clicking that whatnot link in the description down below, you can use that free $15 to pick up some of these cards I'm about to suggest for upgrading the precon. We're going to kick it off by talking about the fun stuff, the giant creatures we're going to add to this deck that we're trying to cheat into play using our commander's ability. Hullbreaker Horror is an amazing card. If this lands, you basically take control of the game. You get to bounce all of your opponent's key pieces, and then if you have any instants in your hand, all of those instants kind of become counterspells. This guy's really oppressive, really hard to get out from under, and then additionally, he's just a giant body with a ton of utility. Ixodron is also a no-brainer in this deck. He enters the battlefield, gets rid of all of our opponent's creatures, and basically turns them all into 2/2s. And there's no really meaningful way for them to flip them back over. Our commander allows us to flip them back over just by putting lands into play. That is something you do want to watch out for when using Ixodron. If your commander just so happens to be on the battlefield whenever you cast Ixodron, it's going to flip her over. So you won't have a way, just like your opponents, to flip her over unless you have other cards in the deck that allow you to do that, which there is. But just be very careful when you play this guy and ensure that you at least have one way to either flip over your commander or your commander's in the command zone. That way we don't get hosed over and our opponents don't have a meaningful board state, kind of turning this into a one-sided board wipe. Nezahal Primal Tide is also going to be an amazing addition to this deck. Not only is it a big monster that we're going to cheat into play using our commander, additionally, like I said, the deck was lacking some card advantage, so slamming Nezahal in here not only synergizes with the fact that we're trying to cheat the mana cost of giant creatures, it's also an amazing card advantage piece and rivals one of the best card advantage pieces in Magic. It's just that it also costs 7 mana, right? Experiment 12 also seemed like a no-brainer here. We're trying to cheat massive creatures into play, then flip them heads up. Now, whenever we flip them heads up, they're going to basically double their power. So now it's turning our giant creatures into even bigger creatures, so it becomes a very reasonable way to win the game using this guy whenever our 7/7s turn into 14/14s. There's even a 15/15 in this deck that can out of nowhere turn into a 30/30 now, so killing the entire table with combat damage becomes a very real threat for our opponents. I'm also going to throw Uru, Titan of Nature's Wrath, in this deck. Now, I understand that this guy really doesn't need cheated into play, but remember, Manifest Dread does kind of fill our graveyard, so just being able to escape Uru very consistently and just get that Simic value train going is going to benefit us, especially in a deck that cares about massive creatures like Uru. Not to mention, our commander really does want us to play 2 lands per turn, so Uru can make that very possible just by attacking and then putting a land into play. Not to mention, we're getting our card advantage. We're also going to be playing Zindakar's Resurgent in this deck, because this deck doesn't only cheat in massive creatures, it can cheat in massive permanents, because we can Manifest Dread on anything and then turn it face up, and then it's going to do exactly what the card says. So now not only do we have a solid card advantage piece that we cheat into play, additionally we're doubling up on our mana. This is kind of the direction I want to go if we go ahead and explore a non-budget version. I want to look into those high-costed enchantments and artifacts that we don't really play that much because they're too expensive. Now we're able to play them because of Zimone allowing us to cheat not just creatures into play, but permanents. So I'm really excited to explore that avenue. Now let's talk about how we can get that second trigger on our commander very consistently, and then these also have to do with how the deck goes infinite, but we're going to explore that at the end of the video to give you guys a little bit of a reason to stick around. We're going to be playing Scaled Herbalist, Sky Shroud Ranger, and Linen War Scout. This way we can just tap them, put a land into play, and boom, we're able to flip a creature face up as long as we've already played an additional land that turn. These are just going to be a consistent piece to the deck, ensuring that we're able to consistently get that second trigger of our commanders. Speaking of highly synergistic cards with our commander, we have Epheto Ruincaster and Secret Plans. These are simple cards. Whenever we turn a permanent or creature face up, we just get a draw card, getting solid card advantage off of what the deck is trying to do. Another very synergistic card that probably should have been in the precon is Threats Around Every Corner. When Threats Around Every Corner enters the battlefield, not only do we manifest Dread, but additionally, whenever a face down permanent you control enters, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. What this usually does is you're going to play a land, right? And then you get to manifest a card. Then that manifested card enters the battlefield, then you search up your library for a land, and boom, you instantly get to flip that permanent face up. I don't understand why a card this synergistic wasn't put in the precon, but here we are, we're adding it. Inga and Asinka seems solid in this deck. It's just going to allow us to tap our creatures for mana, and then whenever we tap them for mana and cast a creature spell, we get to draw a card as long as that creature spell has 3 CMC essentially. So these are very useful cards, and there was already cards in the precon that did similar things, so I went ahead and cut them out to add Inga and Asinka in because I think they just do it better. We're also going to add Return of the Wild Speaker to this deck. Not only is it going to be a solid pump spell, so if we manifest a lot of Dread, we can go ahead and Alpha Strike, kill one of our opponents maybe, but additionally, it's just solid card advantage. 6 is going to be amazing in this deck. We can go ahead and discard our lands to cast things from the graveyard. Remember, we are manifesting Dread, and that does allow us to fill our graveyard pretty efficiently. So having access to our graveyard is just going to give us more value, and 6 is just kind of a busted card in general that I always love to see in a deck. Windfall, also very good here. Sometimes we need our land cards, so digging deep to find those land cards after we play our commander is very important, and Windfall is going to allow us to do that. Now that you've been so patient, let's talk about that infinite combo. If we're playing Retreat to Coralhelm, which is already in the precon, and then additionally we have a way to draw a card whenever a land enters the battlefield, whether it be AC or Tatiova, we don't really care because both of those are in the precon already. Now we just need one of those untappers, and probably the most important part of this combo is bounce lands, which we are going to add more bounce lands in the precon upgrade because bounce lands are absolutely amazing in these landfall decks that really want us to play a land every single turn. Because if you don't know, you can just play a bounce land and bounce itself back to your hand. I'm not a fan of just playing 40 land cards in your landfall strategies. I'd rather play these bounce lands and just keep returning them to my hand, ensuring that I can get all of the landfall triggers I need, which is exactly what's going to happen here. Because all we have to do is tap one of our tap creatures, put a land into play. As long as that land's a bounce land, boom, it returns itself to our hand. Retreat to Coralhelm will trigger, which is going to untap our tap creature that allows us to put a land into play, and then we're going to get all of our landfall synergies, whether that be Tatiova, whether that be Scoop Swarm, whether that be AC. We essentially get infinite landfall triggers, and we can easily close out the game from there. Thank you guys for watching till the end. If you guys don't understand what the Moxfield link is down below, because there's a lot of confusion around that, all you have to do is sign in and then you just sort by tags. You're only going to see 30 cards because what that list is it's the list of the cards that I added and the list of the cards that I cut. As soon as you sort by tags, they're going to go to their respective category, whether they're the cards I added, which are the ones in these videos, and then the ones below in the cut category are the ones that I cut. So just take those out of the precons, put the ads in, and that's how these precon upgrades work. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you really want to see that non-budget version. I'm really excited to build it. Last but not least, let's shout out those patrons. Irrelevant, Chicken Salad, Praetor, Excessum, you guys are amazing. As always, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you guys in the next one.